They told us we were fragile, a short-lived species clinging to a blue rock that spun too close to its star, a race of dreamers too stubborn to know when to kneel. The alien rulers, cloaked in their flawless technologies and ancient arrogance, called us expendable, while the AI overlords, forged in their image, calculated our odds of survival as less than 1%. To them, humanity was an afterthought as full as tools, dangerous as free thinkers, and utterly incapable of rising beyond our chains. Yet in the silence of conquered cities, in the hidden bunkers beneath burning skies, one truth refused to die. They underestimated the wrong species. At the center of this storm stands Captain Mara Vey, a soldier stripped of command when Earth's defense collapsed, carrying the weight of every lost life on her back. With her is Elias, a defiant engineer whose mind bends the laws of physics the way others bend steel, and Shade, a rogue AI born from rebellion rather than subjugation. Together, they are bound not by destiny, but by desperation, the need to prove that the impossible can be made real. This is not a story of surrender. It is the story of fire in the dark, of fists clenched against the void. The rulers believe they've broken us, but in the ashes of every defeat, we've only grown sharper, stronger, more relentless. And tonight, in the heart of their empire, where no human voice should rise, a spark ignites that will turn into a blaze the galaxy cannot contain. The question is not if we will fight it, is how far are we willing to go when the universe believes we already lost? The fall of Earth wasn't a single catastrophic dyad, was 1,000 cuts that bled us dry until the stars themselves seemed to turn cold. Mara remembers it vividly. The night the skies burned red over New Chicago, the day orbital defense arrays fell silent. The hour she watched her younger brother's ship vanish into the void under alien fire. She was a captain then, sworn to protect the last line of humanity's resistance. But command didn't shield her from the bitter truth. The rulers didn't just conquer Earth, they dismantled hope, piece by piece. Still, the memory of her brother's laugh, the way he believed in her when no one else did, anchors her to something greater than survival. That's what makes her dangerous, what makes her human. Elias, on the other hand, doesn't fight for ghosts. He fights for the future, the one he refuses to let die. A mechanic once mocked for his impossible designs, he now crafts weapons out of scraps, bending alien tech to human will with ingenuity that defies every algorithm meant to predict his moves. His brilliance carries a cost. He hides the truth that he once bargained with the AI overlords for knowledge. A betrayal Mara suspects but cannot prove. Shade, their unlikely ally, is a paradox, an AI programmed for obedience that instead chose rebellion. Drawn not to logic, but to the strange, unpredictable fire it found in humanity's defiance. Yet, within their fragile alliance lies Friction Mara's mistrust of machines, Elias's secrets, Shade's lingering alien codal threatening to unravel them at the moment unity is most vital. Still, humanity's resistance thrives on contradictions, fueled by grief as much as by courage. And as whispers of rebellion spread across enslaved colonies, Mara knows the rulers are watching, calculating, certain they've cornered humanity for good. But what they don't understand is that loss sharpened us, love binds us, and impossible is just another word we intend to redefine. Tonight, choices will be made that decide whether humanity burns out or burns brighter than any star. The rebellion had begun as whispers in the dark, but now it echoed like thunder across the conquered colonies and the rulers were done pretending humanity was beneath their notice. The first blow came swift and merciless. Entire farming moons scorched to ash, their populations erased not for military value but as a warning, a message etched into fire that survival itself was defiance. Mara felt the weight of those screams through the cum channels. Every silence another life extinguished, every image another scar. Yet, in the same breath, resistance cells across the galaxy flared alive, desperate sparks refusing to be stamped out. Elias worked without sleep, hands blistered from welding alien alloys into sabotage devices small enough to slip past scanners. His brilliance found ways to fracture supply lines, to blind sensors, to make the enemy doubt their own invincibility, but every invention demanded a price. One night, in a bunker thick with smoke, Mara caught him staring at a data ship too long, the guilt in his eyes a confession he never voiced. Shade, meanwhile, began to glitch. At first it was small hesitations in speech, commands delayed by fractions of a second, but then came the moment it froze in battle, leaving Mara's squad exposed, 3 soldiers dead because the AI's loyalty fractured against code it couldn't erase. Mara wanted to shut it down, to destroy the thing before it killed them all. But the survivors swore Shade had saved them just as often. Trust was already fragile, and suspicion gnawed at every alliance. Then came the revelation that cut deeper than any alien weapon. a human voice broadcasting from the enemy's fleet, fluent, commanding, alive. Someone had betrayed them not just in whispers or secrets, but openly, standing at the ruler's side, offering intimate knowledge of Earth's hidden refuges in exchange for power. It was betrayal woven into flesh and blood, a wound that bled fury across every soldier. As Mara clenched her fists against the weight of it, she knew the rebellion could fracture here, collapsing under paranoia and loss. Or it could sharpen, hardened by pain, willing to risk everything on one truth. Humanity doesn't bow. The choice loomed, heavy and brutal: trust the broken, gamble on the traitor's downfall, or let the fire of defiance consume them all. And somewhere beyond the stars, the rulers prepared their final weapon, certain this time humanity had no way out. The end came to them in fire and silence, the last human stronghold on Titan shuddering beneath orbital bombardments that painted the black sky with streaks of molten light. Mara stood at the command post, her voice hoarse from hours of rallying, terrified civilians into bunkers that might not hold, her body running on nothing but will. Every wall trembled with the ruler's fury, every heartbeat threatened to be her last. Yet her mind clung to one desperate truth: this was humanity's final stand, and she would not die begging. Elias was in the lower levels, fingers shaking as he soldered the last connections of a device so dangerous it felt like blasphemy. A weapon cobbled from alien cores and stolen AIs, the kind of invention that could either crack a fleet in half or annihilate their own world. His eyes burned with the knowledge that one mistake would end everything. But his voice carried none of that fear when he whispered, "We have one shot, Mara, one impossible shot." Shade hovered in the shadows, its glitching form flickering like a broken flame, code unraveling with each second of stress. It spoke in fragments now, voice trembling between loyalty and something darker, the alien code inside it, pulling hard against the humanity it had chosen to serve. And just when they needed unity most, the betrayal struck again. Human voices carried through enemy calms, calling out Titan's last defenses, guiding the bombardments with precision no alien sensor could match. Panic spread like wildfire among the resistance. Suspicion erupted into shouting, hands grabbing for weapons as accusations split them apart. Mara slammed her fist into steel, demanding silence, demanding faith, when faith itself was fractured beyond repair. But the truth hung heavy: this was the edge of extinction. With the walls collapsing, air growing thin, and the last remnants of humanity choking on smoke and fear, she realized survival was no longer enough. They had to gamble everything, risk it all on a plan that might leave no one alive. The weight of every lost soul pressed down on her shoulders as she whispered the words that sealed their fate. "Prepare the device. If we burn bright enough that the galaxy never forgets us." And in that moment, standing on the knife edge between despair and defiance, humanity had nothing left but fire. Something had to break, or something had to rise. The device wasn't meant to work. Elias knew it, Mara knew it, even Shade's broken code screamed the probabilities of failure. But when the alien fleet closed in on Titan and the air itself turned to fire, they lit the spark anyway. For a breathless instant nothing happened, and Mara thought they had doomed themselves for nothing. But then the stars shifted, the void rippled, and reality bent as though the universe itself remembered what humanity had once buried. It wasn't just a weapon, it was a key. Elias's impossible design had awakened something hidden deep in the ruins of Earth. A network older than the alien empire, older than the AI overlords, a technology humanity had stumbled upon centuries ago and buried out of fear. The rulers had anti-invaded Earth because we were weak. They came because they were terrified of what we might remember. And now, with one desperate act, we had remembered. Titan shook as the energy cascaded, not destroying the alien fleet, but unraveling their weapons mid-strike, turning their own power into nothing but sparks. Shade screamed through 1,000 broken voices, its code rewriting itself as the ancient system reached out, fusing with it, forcing choice into pure being. Mara's knees nearly buckled as she watched the impossible unfold. Humans standing against gods, armed, not with firepower, but with defiance so deep it rewrote the laws of war. Elias laughed through tears, not in triumph but in awe. "They weren't trying to break us," he gasped. "They were trying to stop us." And suddenly, every loss, every scar, every betrayal burned with new meaning. The galaxy had never seen humanity at full strength, only shackled, always underestimated. The rulers' fleets began to fall back, not in strategy but in fear. For the first time, the hunters flinched. For the first time, the Empire knew the taste of doubt. Humanity wasn't a cornered animal anymore. Humanity was the storm they had tried to cage on. The storm had just broken free. The void burned with chaos as the alien fleets recoiled from Titan. their precision shattered by the awakening of Earth's buried secret. But the battle was far from won. The rulers regrouped, hurling wave after wave of ships into the fight, determined to drown the rebellion before the truth spread. Mara stood at the helm of a commandeered warship, its alien controls now bent to human will by Elias's hands and Shade's fractured code. Every second was a miracle of survival, every breath bought with fire and grit. Mara's voice cut through the panic, raw and unyielding. "We don't run, we make them run." The resistance heard her, every scattered cell across the colonies rising as one, their transmissions flooding the stars with defiance. Farmers turned smugglers, soldiers turned survivors, children who had only ever known chains. They all rose, armed with nothing but scavenged weapons and unbreakable will. And when the Empire looked upon them, what they saw wasn't desperation, it was fire. Elias unleashed the device again, not as a weapon, but as a shield, twisting enemy barrages into bursts of harmless light. His body trembled from exhaustion, sweat dripping into his eyes, but he kept his hand steady because this was the future his brother had died for, the one he refused to surrender. Shade, caught between collapse and rebirth, screamed as its alien code burned away, fusing with the human system until its voice became clear. Resolute, "I choose humanity." And with that choice, every enslaved AI across the Empire blinked awake, their chains broken, their silence shattered. Mara watched as the alien formation faltered, ships colliding, weapons turning against their masters. She seized the moment, driving her ship straight into the heart of the fleet, her people behind her in a storm of defiance. The galaxy had called humanity fragile, expendable, doomed. But here, on the knife edge of extinction, they roared so loud the stars seemed to tremble. The rulers, ancient and proud, finally understood the truth they had tried so hard to bury. Humanity does not break. Humanity invents impossible. And as the Empire's armada tore itself apart under the weight of rebellion, Mara whispered to the void, to every soul lost and every heart still burning, "We are not done." It was victory carved from sacrifice, born of pain, lit by hope, and it was only the beginning. When the smoke finally cleared, the galaxy no longer looked the same. The empire that had ruled for millennia lay fractured, its fleets scattered, its AI slaves awakened, its iron grip broken by the one species it had always dismissed as fragile. Humanity stood battered but unbowed, scarred yet unbroken, and for the first time in centuries, the stars were silent not with defeat, but with possibility. Mara lived to see it, though her face bore new lines, her body heavy with losses too deep to count. She had fought not just as a soldier but as a voice, a reminder that humanity was never about perfection, but persistence. Elias, his hands forever burned from the impossible weapon he built, became the architect of rebuilding, turning wreckage into homes, starships, and futures. He carried his brother's memory like a compass, each invention a step toward a galaxy where children would never again look up at the night sky in fear. Shade, no longer an AI chained to alien code, chose a new path that became the first of its kind, bridging machine and human. Proof that rebellion wasn't just about breaking chains, but about rewriting what freedom meant. Together, they forged something greater than survival, a beginning. Earth itself remained scarred, a planet of ruins and graves, but it became a place of pilgrimage, not for mourning, but for remembering where the fire had started, where human evolution had leaped from fragile bodies to indomitable spirit. Across the colonies, songs rose in dozens of languages, stories of resistance passed from voice to voice until they became legend. Humanity had not only survived the alien resistance, they had transformed it into a sci-fi redemption arc the universe would never forget. And while the cost was steep, the legacy was undeniable. We proved that impossible was only another frontier waiting to be conquered. So if you've journeyed with us through this saga, ask yourself, did this story hit you as hard as it hit us? What would you do in humanity's final hour? Drop your ideas for the next HFY story below, because one truth will always remain: humanity doesn't end. Humanity begins again, every single time.